Welcome back to BBC News, and let's return to that breaking news of the last little while. That news that Russia has launched a massive drone attack on Ukraine. In a moment, we'll speak to our correspondent in Ukraine, Vitaly Shevchenko. First, though, let me just show you some quite shocking footage that has just come into the BBC. Well, BBC Verify has confirmed that this video shows a drone striking the historic Bernardine church and the monastery in the old city of Lviv in western Ukraine. We're playing that again for you. The video was filmed from a short distance away in the central square, showing a drone that appears to be a Shahid drone. They're made by Iran, coming down and hitting part of that building, then erupting into flames. Let's speak, as promised, to Vitaly Shevchenko, who's in Kyiv for us. And Vitaly, just start by telling us just more about the scale of this onslaught from Russia today.
It's unusual for an attack of this scale to take place during daytime, particularly in western Ukraine. Such attacks, they happen at night normally because it's more difficult to see the drones, and they focus on eastern, northern, southern and central parts of Ukraine. But this time it's different. Several key cities in western Ukraine have been targeted. As you say, Matthew, in Lviv's historic center, a 15th century monastery is on fire following a Russian attack. A residential building, at least one apartment block, has been hit. Elsewhere in western Ukraine, in Ternopil, a local government building was reportedly targeted. In Ivano-Frankivsk, a maternity hospital has been damaged. So far, I've seen reports of 13 people taken to hospital in Lviv alone, and that number of casualties is expected to rise. There have been hits in central Ukraine as well, in Zhytomyr and Vinnytsia. Early in the day in Dnipro, a 14-story building was hit by a Russian drone, 12 people hospitalized. So there's a lot of chatter here in Ukraine about this apparently new Russian tactic where drones are flying in broad daylight. Last week on Monday, a Russian drone fell right here in central Kyiv in Independence Square. So there seems to be a change in Russian tactic, and analysts here in Ukraine are trying to figure out what it means.
And what do you think it means in terms of the geography of the attacks, western Ukraine? Tell me about the sort of defences they have in the west of the country.
Well, for Russia, obviously, there would be targets across Ukraine, military targets, and looking at Russia's past behavior here in Ukraine, it seems that they are not going to stop at hitting civilian targets as well. In terms of defenses, major, bigger cities are, of course, better protected. Ukraine is struggling to cover all of its territory, all of its significant military, civilian infrastructure facilities with proper air defenses. Now, particularly, especially given that America is distracted by Iran. So not a good time for Ukraine at the moment.
And of course, that is what President Zelensky has been saying relentlessly over the last few weeks as we've seen the war in the Middle East develop. But the fear that Ukraine gets lost, that the attention switches. Certainly, President Zelensky very, very aware of that, and European leaders very, very aware of that.
It's interesting how little information emerged after the latest round of talks between the Ukrainians and the Americans late last week. All we've seen are pretty bland statements by Ukrainian officials discussing, quote unquote, ways forward and ways of ending this war. But it's clear that Vladimir Zelensky is trying to keep Donald Trump on board. He's trying to use Ukraine's drone expertise, drone technology, as a bargaining chip in relations with the United States. And earlier today, I saw unconfirmed reports in Ukrainian media saying that the Americans are pressuring Ukraine to withdraw from the remaining small part of Donbass in eastern Ukraine. And if Ukraine does not do that, Washington threatens to completely pull out of these talks with Ukraine and focus on Iran instead. And that is a prospect that worries Volodymyr Zelensky hugely.